Hello! In this tutorial, we will introduce you to adding shading using standard component blocks. During the tutorial, we will explain what standard component blocks are, show you how to add standard component blocks, and introduce you to the shading and reflection settings for component blocks. There are three types of component block used by Designbuilder: ground, adiabatic, and standard. Ground and adiabatic blocks are covered in a later tutorial, and this one will focus only on standard component blocks. Standard component blocks are simple objects that don't contain zones. They can be used to represent surfaces that provide shading and reflect solar radiation during simulations, such as fixed shading on the building exterior, or to model shading and reflection from surrounding buildings. There are other ways of introducing shading to your building. These are defined in the Openings tab and are also covered in a later tutorial. Let's assume that this building requires fixed shading in the form of a standard component block at roof level to shade the glazing on the southern facade. I will now show you one method to add the shading, but you could also add this using the rectangle perimeter shape or use construction lines to assist you. I first select the Add Block tool and set the block type to component block. Leave the component block type as standard, the form option to extruded, shape as polygon, and line type as straight line. Move the cursor onto the wall surface until highlighted, and then press and hold the Shift key to lock the drawing plane to the wall. Click on the end point snap of the top left corner of the south wall and draw until the top right corner. Then keep the Shift key pressed and move the cursor down along the right edge of the wall. Release the Shift key and type in 0.1 as the thickness of the shade. Then use the Zoom Window tool to go to the opposite corner. Press Escape to cancel the zoom window and continue with the Add Block tool. You can see a parallel guideline and the point snaps to confirm the location of the correct point. The distance measurements also confirm this. Now click on this point to mark the fourth point of the shading block, then join back to the top point. As this block is being extruded horizontally, the extrusion distance must be defined. Now use Zoom Extents. To continue adding block, move the cursor horizontally and type in the dimension to set the depth to 1.5 meters. Press Enter to create the block. The light purple colour indicates that this is a standard component block, which also now appears as Component Block 1 in the navigation panel. Component blocks don't provide shading and reflection unless the option is checked in the Component Block section of the Construction tab. This is selected by default. This and other aspects related to constructions are covered in a later tutorial. Standard component blocks can be added at building and block levels, but are not used at block level in Energy Plus simulations. They are, however, used in CFD, daylighting, and visualization at the block level. I'll now represent shading and reflection from a larger building, 20 metres by 20 metres and 15 metres high, to the west of our building with a standard component block. Here I'll use our construction line tool to provide a snap point at a specific distance from my building. Note you can also use the construction line tool to accurately position a shading block or other model elements such as openings on a surface. Going to the Visualization tab, we can quickly see the shading effect due to the adjacent building. Component blocks can also be used to create fixed entities, such as other buildings nearby, plus objects like trees, which can have time-varying shading properties. This finishes our quick review of shading using standard component blocks in Designbuilder. If you want to learn more about the topics introduced in this tutorial, including top tips that will improve your modelling efficiency, then our Introduction to User Interface and Model Geometry on-demand training session covers these and other related interface and geometry aspects of Designbuilder. Also, our Basic Model Data, Constructions and Infiltration and Solar Shading on-demand training session covers the shading using component blocks and component block construction inputs, including solar transmittance. We hope you found this tutorial useful. Further information on the specific topics and wider application areas can be found in the comprehensive Designbuilder program help, other tutorials and webinars, and our on-demand training.